Hello and welcome to the After Bedtime Podcast. I am your host, HP Burrito, and as always, it's the beautiful wifey next to me. Wifey, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, babe?
Excellent. I know again it's been a while again since we've done another podcast, but these are always quality over quantity, aren't they, right, baby?
That is definitely true.
And tonight's podcast is a bit of a doozy, in my opinion. It's kind of a sensitive topic, and I'm probably going to get some comments of this one down in the comment section, but you know what? I really don't care. That's part of this whole podcast is to make that comment section go crazy so we can get other people's opinions and we can have an adult discussion about things, especially about real world events like we're going to be talking about tonight. What exactly are we talking about tonight, babe? Because you're more your area tonight than my area.
I was watching a video on Facebook one night, and it was about this guy whose son killed himself over the social distancing of COVID-19. And
so this father alleges, by the way.
Right, he said allegedly that's why his son killed himself. But he also said that his son was very social, playing sports, this and that and the third, and then once COVID hit, his son was staying at home doing absolutely nothing and got bored one day, and I mean, I don't know if it's really got bored, but he got really depressed, and he ended his own life. He hung himself. And can we blame it on COVID-19, or can we blame it on society, or what? I don't know.
See, my thing is, this is where we differ in our opinion, and it's because I didn't watch the entire video because I was doing other things, but you were watching the video next to me.
Yes.
So I was, for the most part, listening to most of it.
Yes.
And I don't know, I just felt like the father just used COVID as a scapegoat to blame for why his son decided to end his life. And I mean, he in my opinion, this kid might have had other issues that the father didn't know about.
True, and then COVID brought it out.
Yeah.
But is it really, I mean, it's not really COVID, but it was more of the social distancing that brought the depression out. Yeah. Maybe the kid was depressed. Maybe, we don't know.
I mean, again, the father could have been right. It could have been, like you said, this kid was, in my opinion, old school, always outside playing with friends, being very social, and then we had the lockdown happen, and he was, in a bubble in a jail cell, and it just proves that some people can't handle jail.
Right. Yes, most definitely.
It's pretty much what happened in this country is we locked down into very comfortable jail cells for a few months, and some people are still locked down right now as we speak.
Yes.
On this July the 5th. People are still locked down for something that started back in November, December, in China. Which to me is crazy. We're talking about 6 months, almost over half a year of being under lockdown because of a disease and an illness. It's freaking ridiculous and insane. And I'm glad we live in a state where normality is sort of returning.
Trying.
But you still see the quote-unquote new normals going around with everybody with their mask on, and the stigma of people looking at you when you don't have a mask on.
Right.
Which I get a lot because I don't wear a mask because A, I'm not sick, and B, I can't breathe.
Yeah, I can't breathe in the meat. I don't like things on my face.
And that's a whole different topic. We're doing I can't breathe. I can't breathe because of the mask is on, and we also have the I can't breathe as part of the protest for what happened with George
Floyd.
And but we're getting off topic as always, and
we do that.
But it's just back to round it back up. I think this kid may have other underlying issues because I mean, from my understanding, from what you've told me about the video, it was his kid's birthday party, and he couldn't have a birthday party because we were all locked down. And so his dad got him a new monitor for his computer game or his PlayStation.
So what it was is the boy, like he said, he couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything for his birthday because the state was locked down. And he wanted a monitor for his computer games. Well, he got his monitor, and a few months after having the monitor, he got mad and raged and threw his controller through the monitor. He was really afraid to tell his dad, and he eventually told his father, and his father was like, all right, son, you do chores around the house, and more than you normally do, and you can pay for your own new monitor. Son was like, okay, that's fine.
Which is fair.
Which is fair. A few weeks or few months later, whatever it was, about a month later, the boy got his new monitor. Well, he got upset one day again and raged and not only threw the controller and broke it, but also broke the monitor. And instead of telling his father, he got depressed over it and hung himself.
All right, and time out. See, the reason I'm saying time out is because these are all integral reasons why I say it's not the COVID-19's fault. I think this is all within this kid, within this child, because he obviously has some kind of anger issues. If he's raging like that and breaking his things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's just a loose emotional person right there. That's just someone who's...
But how do we not know that it wasn't the social distancing that turned this kid into this? This rageaholic?
You're true. But I mean, in the same sense, though, a balanced person playing a video game, and I say that because it's taken me a while to get to be that balanced person playing video games. Doesn't rage that off. You're gonna rage.
You're definitely gonna rage.
Like earlier today, for example, I almost raged because of what happened with one of my characters in Minecraft Dungeons. But we're not. That's not what we're talking about. But I mean, I feel like I kept it under control. I didn't fucking freak out.
You didn't get upset.
I was upset.
We were upset. You were mad at yourself.
I was upset, but I didn't like physically do anything. I didn't throw my controller to the TV.
But you're also not a 12-year-old child.
I didn't hold my... exactly.
But you're not a 12-year-old child.
True. I am not a 12-year-old child.
And you understand the significance of throwing your computer or your controller onto anything, or your monitor, throwing it or breaking it. You know the consequences.
Yes.
You understand the consequences because you paid for...
Yes.
You bought and paid for your own stuff. So you know how hard it is to work it, but this 12-year-old doesn't understand that.
But no, I disagree, because you think about it, in a sense he does, because what happened in the situation, he broke his monitor, his father made him work for a new one,
right.
Pretty much. He made him do extra chores and whatnot, and do these other things so he can get a new monitor. And so he worked for that monitor, and then what happened again, he lost control of his emotions,
right.
Raged again over a game. The real question is, what games is he playing that's raging like this?
Right.
I guarantee you that, like, whatever game it is that he was playing, he is way too young for.
Right, yeah.
Because that sounds like he's playing, a first-person shooter game, or, maybe, I don't know if it's Grand Theft Auto. I mean, that's the whole thing.
It didn't say exactly what kind of game he was playing.
But there are certain games out there that bring out that violence streak in people. I mean, what's that, what's that one game where, For Honor? That's a strictly violent game. All you're doing is fighting in that game. You're fighting with different types of weapons and different types of people. Those who have played For Honor know what I'm talking about. And that's just a violent game. I've seen it bring out violence in people. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, most definitely.
You've seen the people rage on that game, and how those violent types of games make you more aggressive and more to that tendency because of all the, I don't want to say action, but like of all the brutality and the violence that's being depicted on the screen and that you're controlling.
Right.
And you're letting that entire situation and that adrenaline that's pumping into you, and as a young child or as a young adult, you may not have the maturity, or not may not, you probably don't have the maturity to be able to handle this kind of thing, which is why these games have ratings. You have the MA ratings for mature, you have T for teens, and et cetera,
right.
And that's why these ratings are there. That way it gives guidance for the parents to know, okay, what games are and are not appropriate for this. And again, your mileage may vary. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Some kids can handle that, but it's up to the parents' discretion to choose what games are good and not good for their child. You know what I'm saying?
So you're blaming the games for it?
I'm blaming the parent for not monitoring what his kids is playing.
What happens if the child was mature enough to handle, for instance, For Honor? We don't know what this game the kid was playing, but for instance, he was playing For Honor, or even not Minecraft, but GTA 5, or even Rainbow Six Siege.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what if the kid was playing one of those 3 games?
Mm-hmm.
He was in a social distancing type of situation. He couldn't play with his friends. He could only talk to them online. But how many of his friends actually has a computer, PS4, Xbox, or whatever he was playing that specific game on. He couldn't see his friends. He can't hang out with his friends. He can't talk about it with his friends.
Yeah, but you're also talking about a generation that, like I said, I don't know this kid from anything, so I don't know how much into games he was. But I mean, taking into account of how I was as a kid and taking into account how I see other kids nowadays, most kids nowadays were already social distancing before social distancing was even a thing.
I understand that.
I mean, think about it, how many kids nowadays are just stuck in their rooms playing video games all day and night, and that's how they socialize.
Yeah.
They don't go out in the streets like me and you did when we were kids.
No.
They don't run around the neighborhood and play in the street and do this and do that and play sports outside. But although we do know for a fact this kid was one of those
This kid was very sport.
He was like that. So,
yes.
But again, you have a situation like again, for example, with me, where I used to be like that. Also, I was out on the street playing outside until the night,
porch lights come on.
Yeah, like pretty much now,
right.
When it's time for bedtime, I'd come back home and it's time to go to take a shower, get ready for bed, and go to sleep for the next day. But as I grew up, I started, my neighborhood, because I didn't grow up in the same neighborhood.
Right.
The older I got, the less room I had to play. Mm-hmm. So I ended up having to become that person that was stuck inside playing computer games and consoles and things like that. And you learn to adapt.
Right.
And I learned as a very young, about the same age this kid was. I was, 15 when I first... I was earlier than that. I was about 13, maybe 12, maybe even a little earlier than that. It's kind of hard to remember that far, but when you're old as I am. But,
oh, you're so ancient. So ancient.
But, I mean, we're talking about over 20 years ago.
I understand. I do. I get it. I was outside too, and I never did play video games like you did.
Yeah.
Because, we had one. We had a regular Nintendo, but we played for a month. Me and my sister fought over it for a month, got bored of it, and went back outside and never saw the game again.
Yeah, I understand.
We rarely ever played it.
It was. I just think it was weird different for our time too, because we didn't have our gaming systems was like Nintendo and Sega Genesis and the PlayStation,
Atari,
and which weren't networked into the internet. Like everything, I think it got big on PlayStation 3 when PlayStation. And it started out. I think it started a little bit, and on PlayStation 2 at times, because I think there was you could play online like that. But it was just the beginning of it. It's nothing like it is now. Now you buy a game, it's pretty much 100% online.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
It's very rare you get a game that you can play online or offline. And if you do have an offline mode, it's for example, like a first-person shooter game. It's a real cheesy, maybe 2-hour, 3-hour max storyline for the single player. Then the rest of the game is all online. Once you beat that storyline, it's all online.
Right.
But I will give kudos to Grand Theft Auto. Their storyline was phenomenal from the beginning, because when it first came out, the first year GTA 5 came out, way back when, we're talking about a game that's 13, 14 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty old.
It was only on story mode, and that's all you had was the storyline, and then you could goof around it until we finally got online, and then it just became its own thing. But so it had to have that good standalone online, or not online, but the solo experience, because if not, it was going to sink and burn before the online aspect even came out.
Right.
But regardless of the fact, in my opinion, these kids nowadays, they live on those video games, and that's how they socialize. They meet all their friends online. I mean, just think about how many quote unquote friends your kids have. Our kids have. You know what I'm saying? They're all online. Oh, you met this kid? No. You met this kid? No. You met this kid? No. I know he lives where I know where he lives. I'm like, oh, yeah, he lives in this state or that state, but you're never going to meet those kids.
Right.
I've got people that, I've talked to for years on my PlayStation that I've never met.
And you never will.
And I probably never will.
Most likely never will. But see, I don't know. I think that between the social distancing and for this particular child, the social distancing and, not being, not being able to be with his friends, and he is cooped up in the house because some states were mandated that you stayed in the house and you didn't go nowhere, and the only time you went anywhere is to go to the grocery store or gas. I guess I don't know. I didn't live in a state like that.
Doing quote unquote essential activities,
right? And I didn't live in a state like that.
Yeah.
Yes, our state was shut down, but it wasn't obsessed like some other states were.
Yeah, it wasn't completely shut down. We were we had limited interactions with other people.
We will definitely did.
That's for
for
sure.
my job. I wasn't socialized, or I wasn't shut down, and neither were you.
Not only was I,
but I also
I was quote unquote essential.
I was essential too. I'm a teacher at a daycare center, and I see kids all the time.
This is where
and I see how they the attitudes changed, the personalities changed.
I know you have a real unique perspective about this topic because of where you work at, but I've seen that change in adults also. I've seen grown folk, grown people have that same issue because of their personalities and who they are. But I've also seen, people who are older than me, adapt to the situation. So again, so that's where I fall back onto. I think it's not about the situation, it's about the person handling the situation. And we all handle, extreme situations differently.
Yes,
some people can handle it and they're fine. Some people shut down emotionally, mentally, and if it lasts long enough, physically.
Yeah.
Because you get someone who gets that depression, that deep depression, they don't want to eat, they don't want to do nothing, they just want to mope around, lay around, do nothing at all, and that eventually takes a toll on, that mental state of mind eventually, and emotional state of mind eventually take a toll on the physical body,
And I see that every day at work.
Sure.
With my kids at work. It's like, before, an example, when they eat lunch, before they were clean about it. This last few months, it's just been a nightmare. It's like I'm cleaning after my daughter every day. But
so you're cleaning after a toddler?
I'm cleaning after toddlers, and they're not. They're school-age children, and they make this ginormous mess, and it hadn't before. I don't want to say I blame COVID-19 on it. I don't blame the disease itself. I blame the social distancing.
You blame how correct me if I'm wrong here, but you're pretty much blaming how our government and our elected officials reacted and handled the situation. And if you ask me, most of them did a piss poor job on it.
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
And then, so it wasn't the disease, it wasn't COVID-19 that caused the situation, it was our reaction to COVID-19 that caused our situation and us to be in the way we're in right now.
Yeah, because those kids are just, and it's hard to get them back to normal. They're not with their friends at school. They're not at school.
This is gonna stick with them for a lifetime.
It is
for generations even. There's scientific evidence and proof of this.
Yes.
Of victims of let me think of a good example. Okay, here's an example: Holocaust victims. Okay, this happened way back. Decades ago, back in the 1940s, 1950s, when World War II was going on. What I'm saying? But way back then, okay? So we're talking about at least 2 or 3 generations ago. It takes about, 30, 40 years for a generation, if I remember correctly?
A generation,
Let's just say 40 years. Let's say 50, okay? That happened in the 1940s. We're in 2020. So that happened, 3 generations ago, pretty much, if my math is correct, and you're not supposed to be doing math when you're doing this stuff, but I'm doing it anyway, so okay. But so we're talking about 3 generations ago, and that's a long time, if you think about it. And people that are come from those families that they survived the Holocaust still have those emotional scars ingrained into their DNA.
Well, yes, of course.
But that's kind of my point. You got that kind of trauma gets ingrained in your genetics, and you pass that trauma down. That's why they call it generational trauma, and it gets passed down from generation to generation to generation. Which is how 100 years later you still have people who can still remember what happened in the Holocaust because of stories they've heard and that trauma that's deep within them that they have. I mean, even when it doesn't have to be even something that extreme, even something as I don't want to say simple, but it pretty much is racism. Mm-hmm. That's ingrained in everybody. I mean, look what's going on again with this George thing.
George
just
Floyd.
that it was just a great example of how systemic black racism is against this country, and we feel it, and you can see it. even me, I find myself saying all the time, like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm the brown guy, you know. I know, you know, I say that so many times.
You do.
And that's how it is, though. It really truly is that way. That's the kind of stuff that was ingrained in me growing up. That's what I grew up into, growing up in the ghettos of the cities that I grew up in.
Right.
You know, you see that stuff and you remember that stuff and you get biased against things like that. And it's on a subconscious level that you don't think about it on a normal basis. But it's always there in the background, and then it pops up every now and then. Hey, remember me?
Right. Yeah.
With a quick comment or situation that happens. It's just,
yeah. I don't know. I lived in a, you know, we could go outside and play, and
so did I.
Even when I was an older teenager, and before I started driving and everything, we could still be out in the streets.
And when I grew up, I grew up in a city that when I was young, and we're talking about like mid to late 80s people. We were talking about young, okay? That's how long ago we're talking about. We're talking about where you could run around your neighborhood, and I mean neighborhood, between this street to that street and this street to that street. You had blocks upon blocks of the neighborhood that you could roam around and goof around with. And the older I got, the smaller that circle got. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where my parents just said, it's just safer if you stay inside. And that's what I did. I stayed inside, and that's when the video game started.
Right.
And that's when I adjusted from being a outdoor kind of person to just, you know, I'll stay in my room.
Right.
And do me.
Yeah, I stayed outside up until I got a vehicle, and then we were still outside, but I was just in my car.
Yeah.
Or the back of the truck is where I really was, always in the bed. Always laying down. Well, you stop being weird.
Country girls.
Oh, most definitely. But, you know, that's what we did. And, you know, we drove around and went to our friend's house, and it was no big deal. Now we, you know, up until I was like 17, 18 years old, that's what I did. And then I got a job, and I couldn't do that no more. But to sit home and play video games and soak in my own depression, no, I didn't. Mm-hmm. I really didn't.
Well, I mean...
And for this kid, or any kids, it's hard right now for these children because they don't understand what is actually physically going on in the world.
So what do you think we need to do as a society, not just me and you, but like as a society, we need to do for not just these kids, but for people who are having these issues?
Just get away from the video games. Stop playing them all the time. You don't have to play them 24/7. All you do is eat, sleep, and go to school and play video games.
Okay, but see, that goes back into that other problem, though. Okay, if someone's locked down and they're not going to play video games, what are they going to do?
Go outside.
They
go
can't.
In their backyard. They can go in their backyard.
They can't. They're locked down.
No, they can go.
Okay, what they're going to do is sit outside and just look at the sky for an hour?
No, get a basketball goal. Get a volleyball goal.
How? They can't go nowhere.
But the stores are open.
Here they're right.
Okay,
you're looking at our perspective. Here they're open, bro. Okay, I'm saying to the person who is in that state where they can't do nothing, where they're locked down and they can't even go outside because of the stigma against it. People are calling their neighbors because I see my neighbor, he's outside, he's looking at the sun. You know, like, dude, mind your business, lady.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? He's in his own backyard and he's nowhere near nobody. He is well within 6 feet from anybody. Let him do his own.
Well, have more contact with your family. More contact with your not contact, but hold on, not contact. But I'm talking about, like, say, for instance, our family. Our family. It's me, you, and our children. Do something with our children. Don't let them sit there and play video games all day. We got board games. We got cards. We got movies. We can watch movies all day long.
We got Minecraft Dungeons.
Oh, Lord Almighty. Yes, we have Minecraft Dungeons. But my thing is do more with your children. Get them out. Not get them out because obviously the social distancing, we can't really do that. But get them out of their bedrooms and watch a movie with your children. I don't know. Play a board game. We have board games. Most people that have kids got games.
Puzzles.
I mean, we even have Nerf guns. Go, let's get them out and let's shoot each other
There you
up.
go, first-person shooter.
There you go. At least we're the video games, and I'm not sitting there playing one.
Yeah, they can get tired and go to sleep and take a nap.
Yeah,
I like it. It's a good idea. All right,
I like that.
Okay. Get your Nerf guns, boys and girls. We're gonna go freaking do a paintball war with Nerf guns.
With Nerf guns.
So it's a Nerf gun war.
It's an Nerf, yeah. But I don't know. I don't want to blame the society, the social distancing, or COVID on this child. I just think that maybe the dad could have done more. Maybe the dad could have been there for his son more instead of letting him stay home and play video games. Maybe his dad could have been that friend that this kid tried to have so much.
You're just proving my point. Then you're pretty much agreeing with me that as the parent or any legal guardian for anybody, any minor at that, you're responsible for your kid's well-being, and not just physical well-being, for emotionally and mentally
right.
also. And I'm not here to shame anybody, but in the end, it's pretty much his fault that he wasn't paying attention to the signs, and maybe he didn't know what those signs were, which is understandable. Not it's not easy being a parent to know all the signs of everything,
no, it's not.
but it is your job to understand things.
Right.
And if the kid is acting off, and maybe he wasn't acting, again, maybe he wasn't acting off, maybe there was no sign. It could have been a spur of the moment thing where you was totally caught off guard. Those situations happen, and
yes,
but
I know.
and but I don't know. It's a tough situation either way you look at it.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a discussion that will be going on for a while, not just between me and you, between
right.
everybody, because
right.
I mean, this entire situation is crazy, and the times that we're living at right now is crazy.
They really are.
And I think is it TikTok right here the at the end of 2020 instead of saying Happy New Year, we should just say Jumanji. It is retarded, but it's kind of funny.
And he makes sense, though. I mean, this year has been one of the worst years.
And it's only halfway over.
And it's only halfway over. They're already talking about other things happening. They're talking about another outbreak of COVID-19 because of yesterday, 4th of July.
Yeah, of course, they're trying to shame us into
making us feel bad for having fun.
Making us feel bad for having fun and being normal human beings. They're dehumanizing us.
Yeah.
And that's where in the end is. And that could be exactly what's wrong with this kid.
Turning him into robots?
It's not even just turning him into robots. It's just that they dehumanize this kid enough where he just didn't feel like he was human enough or worthy enough to be awake or be alive.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, what if he's not worthy to be a human and he's been dehumanized enough? He's going to get to that point where he's like, you know what, just end it.
Right.
And which is what they want in the end. But that's another topic for another day. I'm done with this topic tonight. I think we've rambled on for long enough about this topic. You have anything else you want to add?
I don't.
No, right. Nor do I.
I got one thing.
There we go.
Parents, just pay more attention to your kids.
Leave your comments below. Like the video if you like the topic. Even if you didn't like the topic, subscribe to the channel if you're new. And we'll see you guys next time after bedtime. Keep the comments going, guys.
Bye, guys.